It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends up, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in. It's another hour of the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker here with you on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, streaming on 1069thefan.com and the 1069 The Fan mobile app. And a couple different things we want to get through this hour. Of course, if you want to continue any of the discussion from last hour, feel free. Ask a question on any of the topics that we discussed last hour. Utah State in both the coaches and AP polls. San Diego State as well. Who might the Aggies be targeting in the portal? And we gave our reactions to the men's title game, college basketball title game from last night, UConn over Purdue. It's all in the podcast that's already available on our podcast platforms for last hour. And we received a text that came through as we're getting into the stat that blew our minds here. And 5338 saying the women's final outdrew the men's final because the men's final was shown only on cable. The stat that blew my mind that I went with was that the women's game had over 4 million more viewers. And being on cable, being a later tip, those probably were some factors that may have been a bit prohibitive against the men's game, but I'm not going to take away the women's title here of being the most watched basketball game of any kind, college or professional, since 2019.
Yeah, it's not like I get like the men's final would have drawn a lot more viewers had it not been just on cable because it was a highly anticipated matchup between what pretty much everyone agreed were the two best teams. Everyone would agree with that except probably Houston fans.
Right. If this was truly apples to apples, if the women's had their title game on ABC, late afternoon, early evening tip time, and if the men's had their game on CBS at a little bit earlier tip time, because the East Coast, it was like a 9 o'clock tip. So if that's a little bit earlier in prime time, does it draw as many viewers? I don't know.
They'd be a lot.
They'd probably draw more than they did.
They'd draw a lot more close to equal than obviously like the 4 million gap. But yeah, it's still, even if that were the case, like it'd be a big deal that the women's finals even with the men's, because that's not historically been the case. Historically, nobody gives.
Right, the fact that they're in the same stratosphere in and of itself is remarkable.
Yeah, the fact they beat them by 4 million is even more remarkable. Even if there's obviously there's a little more context and nuance to it. But yeah, it just shows where women's sports is getting to, and it's nice to see that you see it in women's soccer, where especially with the women's national team. That draws like mainstream coverage. It's like one of the few women's sports that actually seems to draw mainstream coverage outside of like Serena Williams. And now you're getting women's college basketball, which is getting up there for a couple of years now. Again, we're going to see how things go the next couple of years. But there's some up-and-coming stars that aren't Caitlin Clark that I think are going to be drawing some attention to.
Right. What will be mildly interesting for me is how does the WNBA, what lessons do they learn from what's happened this last year, really the last 2 years for college basketball for women, and how they have identified and really heightened the stars of their game.
Yeah, because the WNBA 100% needs someone like Caitlin Clark. I thought Sabrina Ionescu was going to be that, because that was a player that I noticed, and like I saw there was some mainstream coverage because she was getting a bunch of triple doubles. And that was a big deal back when she was in college. Everyone was obsessing over triple-doubles, and she was doing that at the college level. She goes to the WNBA, and I don't ever hear her name, ever.
We saw her in the three-point shootout in a specialized one with Steph Curry.
Yeah, that's not true. I have seen her a couple times, but not as much as maybe I thought I would. That's kind of where I guess I was getting with that, is that I thought I would be seeing her all the time, mainstream coverage. But that's not happened. Will Caitlin Clark suffer a similar fate? Now, granted, she was way bigger in college than Sabrina ever was. But can the WA take advantage of that? Because that is a league that desperately needs that kind of attention, because it's a league that basically lives on subsidies right now.
Yeah.
And if it can get that kind of star power and draw these crowds and draw that attention, they've been begging for coverage, please cover the WNBA. And there have been cases where they've kind of earned that. There have been some exciting finals and some exciting stars in the WNBA, but nothing like Caitlin Clark, someone who's capable of drawing 18 million people to watch her games. The last 2 or 3 games that Caitlin Clark's played in have been setting records for not only women's basketball, but in some cases, the most watched basketball game in 5 years. Anywhere. People wanted to watch Caitlin Clark more than they want to watch LeBron James.
Yes.
So can the WNBA take advantage of that? I certainly hope so. They've really been pushing for more publicity. I think the WNBA is making improvements. So assuming that they're competent with some of the growth that they've had in the last couple of years, as far as attention and publicity, then I think they can take advantage of a star like Caitlin Clark. Especially if they develop some rivalries.
Right, yeah, true.
Because that's the thing that really spurred Caitlin Clark forward, was not only was she good, but then the whole rivalry and Angel Reese, that skyrocketed, catapulted her. And so everyone was invested too. Not just casually interested.
Now you're picking sides.
Yeah. Because I was more in the casually interested, I want to watch her play because she's good. There were a lot of people who were invested. That's how you get 18 million people watching your games.
Right. So, yeah, it's still a big number. Is it true apples to apples? Not quite.
It's like the green apples versus the red apples. There's a kind of a difference.
Right. Is it a tart green apple, or is it a really yummy pink lady? Sweet.
What?
Yeah, it's pink lady apples. Those are the best.
I did not know that was a thing.
Yes. There's some basketball context from the stat that blew our minds. We
don't do context here, Eric.
No, I just throw out the numbers and you figure out the context.
This is drive time radio, Eric.
That's right. Before we get into the Jazz and their slump, let's just continue on from what we should have done last hour, but we ran out of time, and get into the player of the week. This is out of turn here and what we normally would do, but it's kind of a continuation of the last hour. And if you want to chime in and give us your player of the week, always love to hear that as well. 435-339-0321.
Time to see who the real MVP is.
If you have a good game, your game is going to say that. You don't have to say it.
Puts a lot of cool things in perspective anytime you're the first time doing something.
It's the Full Court Press Player of the Week.
Let's go!
All right, Jason, did you have a player of the week?
So I'm going to, in the spirit of the discussion we were just having and breaking from my tradition of always picking a local person, or at least Utah related, I wanted to give a shout out to, because we've been talking about Caitlin Clark and women's basketball, but just the entire South Carolina women's basketball team, who
undefeated run.
Yeah, despite the fact that they were on an undefeated run, and I didn't know this until the tournament either, because I'm just as guilty, because I was focused on Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and Juju Watkins and all these other players. Carolina completed about the quietest undefeated season you'll ever see in your life.
Yeah, it's true. Very true.
Where everyone's focusing on the other side of the bracket and the LSU-Iowa rematch. Then UConn-Iowa, which is another fantastic matchup where you had an individual battle with Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark. And then South Carolina just comes in and just basically did to Iowa what the men's UConn team did to Purdue, where it's like, yeah, we have this spectacular player, the best player in college basketball. You can't stop them. And they're like, all right, well, let's have our whole team beat you.
You're right. Yeah.
And that's what South Carolina did. So and maybe I could throw the UConn men's team in here, but I really just wanted to highlight South Carolina women's team for just being the best team, just overcoming everything and not letting the media narratives get to them and say, hey, Caitlin Clark's better, so obviously they're going to win, right? It's like, no, we're just the best team.
Right. They very easily could have done the, hey, what about us? What about me?
Yeah.
But as a team, they were outstanding.
Yeah, and we're rather gracious winners. Even I think the coach basically sending the flowers to Caitlin Clark, verbal bouquet, saying, hey, look, we're grateful for what you've done because, 18 million people watched us because of Caitlin Clark.
Right.
But obviously they got to see a spectacular South Carolina team as well.
For me, my player of the week, I'm going outside of our area as well.
Well, you always do that.
Yeah, I normally do. But I'm going with this is not one I would normally get into, but Formula One, Max Verstappen.
He's like always player of the week. Doesn't he like always win?
He has won 20 of his last 22 races.
Sheesh.
And the only 2 that he didn't win is because his car crashed and he didn't finish. Couldn't finish the race. But he has won 20 of his last 22. He's just won the Japan Grand Prix this weekend. In context, in 2017, there were 7 races that he didn't finish. He was struggling in 2017 when he broke onto the scene. And over the last year and a half, he's just completely dominant. In the races that he's been involved with this year that he raced and finished, because he spun out and wasn't able to do it in, I think it was in Sydney, Australia earlier this year. But in Bahrain, he won by 22.4 seconds. In Saudi Arabia, 13.6. And over the weekend, 12.5 seconds between him and the next car to cross the finish line. That is a major gap.
Like, you got to respect a man who can dominate the competition like that. But that just sounds like the most boring sport to follow. If it's just, this guy's going to win. Like, if he finishes the race, he wins by an enormous margin. Like, that is a ridiculous margin in racing to win by double digits.
22.5 seconds almost in Bahrain. That is crazy.
How long are the laps? There's race courses where the laps last that long.
Yeah, so I've really not really been into Formula One.
Neither am I.
Very much.
But that's the name I've heard.
But I've got a German exchange student in my house, and F1 is really big in Europe, and his family's really into it. So since he's been here, I've watched a number of these races. And basically, it's like, yep, Verstappen's at the top of the leaderboard, but let's watch all these other cat and mouse games that are going on with everybody else.
Yeah. I get that's kind of what you have to do. It's kind of like the life of a mid-major college where it's like, we get it, we're not up with them, but we'll do our thing down here.
Right. We know Alabama's going to be in the running every year.
We're just going to get to our bowl game and win the Mountain West or whatever.
Yes.
But so I guess that's maybe the logic there. But in a professional sport, like just one guy always winning, like respect greatness, man, but leave some for the rest of us mortals.
That is crazy. 20 of the last 22 races he has won. Let's see, 8968 texting in. The women's team deserves everything they got for the ratings. As advertised, people are cutting the cable because extremely high cost, not much substance with most of them. If some team is playing on cable, I skip it.
Yeah, I really only have like cable channels because I piggyback off of like our family has like a little Hulu subscription or whatever. So it's like, get on that. So that's how I watch all the games these days.
Yeah, and there are people who just have an antenna up and get the over-the-air, which is very good signal, but they don't subscribe to cable. They don't subscribe to different internet platforms that have these YouTube TV or Fubo, let alone a Dish network or DirecTV.
Yeah.
But
with all the streaming, we're basically slowly working our way back into having cable, but just under a different form. Like somebody's eventually going to have a thing where they sell a package of streaming services.
Well, there's a proposal for that, and Fubo is like suing because Warner Brothers, ESPN, Who was the other one?
It's like a bunch of the people that own a streaming service.
Turner. They were going to make, we have all the rights to all these sports properties, not all of them, but the biggest ones, and we're going to come together. We'll pool our resources to make a sports platform. Because right now, the last several years, it's been everybody's doing their own thing. There's ESPN app, and the CBS Sports streams their stuff.
Just whatever plus.
Amazon Prime. It's where you have to go to find certain NFL games or Major League Soccer.
Yeah, that's on Apple TV. And
right. So there's been kind of this separation after everything was conglomerated into one, and now we might be moving back into some form of consolidation, at least for one central location to find some of these platforms and these sports.
That's pretty much the only thing keeping live television alive is, well, one, news stations and sports.
Yes.
24-hour news coverage and sports. And even the news is kind of getting upstaged by get it on the internet.
Yeah.
Live streaming on the internet.
On demand.
It's not like sporting events which have to be broadcast on TV. There's not many other great ways to do that.
No, but yeah, for the men's basketball championship game, could it have received a larger audience had it been on traditional network television? Yeah, it probably could have. But we're seeing some of these cable providers who also have network connections choosing to put these premier events on their sub channels or their higher on the dial channels that they used to be known for.
Yeah. They're just trying to make people subscribe to those services.
Yes.
Amazon Prime is desperate to get people to well, I don't know. They're not really desperate for people to sign up to it because a lot of people have it anyway, but they're
still trying to grow their platform.
They want to get people to watch the media side of that instead of just having it because you have Amazon Prime so you can get fast with 2-day shipping or whatever.
Right. Right.
It's more of some of these other subscriptions where they're desperate, like Disney Plus and all that.
Peacock.
Yeah. Peacock's really going because they had the playoff game on there, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
I didn't watch it because of that. I wanted to watch that game. I forget which one it was. It was one of the first or second round games.
Was Philadelphia involved? I don't remember.
I remember it was a game that I wanted to watch, but it said it was on Peacock. I said, well, that sucks. Guess I'm not watching that game.
That one's out the window. Anyway, we're going to do this. We're going to take a time out here in the Full Court Press. And when we come back, we promise we won't talk about inside baseball stuff with TV. But we'll get into...
1181. So it was Dolphins versus Chiefs.
Oh,
and
yes.
That was it.
That's right. Thank you. And that would have been a really good game big rivalry there between those two.
Yeah, I wanted to watch it. I didn't have a horse in that race because I don't root for the Dolphins or Chiefs, but I wanted to watch that game.
Yes, that's right.
And it was on Peacock. I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to watch Tua and Patrick Mahomes facing off.
When we come back on the other side of this timeout, this historic slide of the Utah Jazz, is it working? Is there any benefit to what's going on here? Or is it just, is Will Hardy not the right coach? Is the organization not led by the right people? Or is there a method to this madness? We'll discuss next on the Full Court Press.
Imagine your wedding day. Elegant, simple, yet stunning, stress-free. It's your day. It's all about you. Whether you're looking for small and simple or have a grander idea, the Riverwoods Conference Center will accommodate your every need. Choose the inside ballroom elegance or outside along the natural decor of the beautiful Logan River. A Riverwoods event planner will work personally with you to make sure your event is exactly how you've envisioned it. The Riverwoods Conference Center, where your happily ever after begins. Google Riverwoods Conference Center or call 750-5151.
Hi, this is Shani Arvey from Cache Valley Bank. I've been with Cache Valley Bank for 26 years and have enjoyed helping my customers reach their financial goals, and I hope to do the same for you. I work with a great team that is dedicated to providing you with the personalized attention you deserve. Stop by our Center Street branch or give me a call and let me show you what opening an account with us can do for you. I look forward to meeting you. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Summer in Cache Valley is beautiful, and the Sportsman on Main Street has all your bike needs covered. Get your bike in now for service or a tune-up. We can usually get your service done in about 2 days. Be ready for the beautiful riding days ahead. If you need a new bike, we have kids to adult full suspension mountain bikes and e-bikes for around town or the mountains. From bikes to helmets to locks and clothing, come and see us at the Sportsman on Main Street in downtown Logan for all your biking needs.
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. I'd like to invite you to learn more about us. Since 1997, we've been Utah's premier one-stop shop for home medical equipment. What sets us apart at Alpine Home Medical is the superior level of customer service. We provide home oxygen, CPAPs, wheelchairs, scooters, breast pumps, and so much more. Come on down and get to know us.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Visit alpinehomemedical.com.
When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006.
Looking for a stable career with great pay, benefits, and positive work environment? This is Scotty with Homestead Cabinets in Hiram. We produce high-quality, state-of-the-art custom cabinetry and are looking for employees who want to become skilled craftsmen. Work Monday through Friday with weekends off. Wages start at $16 per hour with opportunities for growth as you gain experience. Benefits include daily free breakfast, monthly profit sharing, as well as great health insurance. Homestead is a company that values its employees. They emphasize growth of the individual as well as the company. Go to homesteadcabinet.net and apply today.
Breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Later this evening, the Utah Jazz take on the Denver Nuggets in Salt Lake City. We'll have full play-by-play here on The Fan, your local home for the Utah Jazz Radio Network. Denver's favored by 14.5 in the game tonight. Utah has not won a game since March 15th. They have not won back-to-back games since February 4th and February 6th. In fact, since that mini two-game winning streak, Utah has only won 3 additional games. It's bad. It's been a bad slide. They finished the season with there only 4 games left on the schedule. 2 home games, Denver tonight, Houston on Thursday. Then they go to California to take on the Clippers on Friday and Golden State on Sunday. Maybe against Houston, they might have a chance to pick up a victory, but it's not looking good. Like this Jazz team's going to be able to sneak in a win here. So this... You kind of alluded to this. This is an historic losing streak the Jazz are on right now.
Yeah, it's
one we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, it's been since 1982 that the Jazz have lost at least 12 straight games. Because that's what they're on right now, 12 straight games. Their 2 worst losing streaks came in, there was a 14-game losing streak in 1979, and then in 1982 they lost 18 straight games. And, yeah, now they're sitting on 12. The max they can get for a single season is 16. That's if they lose every game the rest of the way because they only have 4 games left. I don't know if they're going to win any of these games. But the thing is like the thought I had when I was kind of drafting this up as a topic we were going to bring up was like, this is what tanking is. It sucks. Like, it's unwatchable at times. Like, you're basically clinging to, hey, Taylor Hendricks had 18 points and a couple of blocks today. Oh, Keontae had like 27 today. Or Johnny Juzang randomly went for 27 as well the other day. And, like, you have to cling to these individual performances. It's like watching the preseason where you just have to tell yourself, I don't care about the result. I care about how these individual players are doing because that's what, you're going to hope they are in the future. And then you have to hope that it's not just empty calorie scoring to these guys because somebody has to score. Like, the team's going to score 100 points on pretty much every night with only a handful of exceptions. those points have to come from somewhere. But it gets really hard to watch this. But the other thought I had was, like, are the Jazz doing the tank right? Like, it feels like they're not, because they didn't tank last year, except kind of at the end. So they end up with, like, the 9th pick. And then they're tanking super hard right now. They're holding guys out. Lauri Markkanen's out. Kessler's out. Clarkson's out. Like, half the good players are out.
Collins is out.
Yeah. It's like every veteran is out. But the best they can get is like the 8th pick in the draft, and what's generally considered a weak draft. Now, that's hard to know if it really is a weak draft beforehand, because there are drafts that they say are strong, and then suddenly Jabari Parker and Andrew Wiggins are your 2 best draft picks in that draft, and that wasn't very good. So, I don't know. It feels like the Jazz are tanking, but like they're not really bottoming out. But I wonder, are they actually developing a path to be great? And you got to kind of steady yourself. Don't get too close to the cliff of despair. Like, this isn't the end. Like, a 12-game losing streak is embarrassing, but like, the Jazz are gonna be fine eventually. Theoretically,
That's the key word. Eventually.
Eventually.
Right. It is frustrating. Like, for me, I always like to see. I understand the concept of tanking. Believe me, I get it. You try it if you feel like you don't have the roster and there's a potential for a generational player in the draft. You do what you can to go get him. It worked for San Antonio multiple times over.
Well, it's kind of working for the Magic. It's working for the Rockets to a degree. You mentioned the Spurs. It worked for them. Kind of worked for the Grizzlies. Worked for the 76ers.
Right. So there's precedence. But I don't really see that generational player in this draft.
No, you don't. And the Jazz are tanking so they can have the 8th pick in the draft. If you're going to tank.
Like they were way too late to start this process. But on the other hand, like, I get it. You want to develop young players. You're developing for the future. So to do that, they have to get quality minutes against other NBA-level stars. And they have to prove themselves against that. They can't do that in the G League. We're really upset about Bryce Sensabaugh and Taylor Hendricks cashed away in the G League until the All-Star break. And now all of a sudden they're all over the place. Which, okay, better late than never, I guess. But it'd be nice to see them play rotation minutes with Lauri Markkanen and Jordan Clarkson and Colin Sexton and John Collins, with these guys who are, decent competitors, professionals. And we haven't really seen that as much. And that's something that it has been frustrating more for me, is that I get it. There's a lot of younger guys, unproven talent that's on the floor. But how much is it really developing your rookies or your young guys when you're also playing them with basically the Salt Lake City Stars select team that's playing in the NBA? Does that really help your team when you're playing alongside a bunch of G League guys? You're getting a lot of minutes, but you're not getting quality minutes.
Well, and you're also just getting your teeth kicked in over and over. That doesn't help. Like, you talk about players, they come in and they get demoralized and then they become busts. How demoralizing is it to lose 12 straight games? Like, the Pistons may end up fumbling Cade Cunningham because they can't win a single game, and he was an incredible talent. May still be. He's only like a year or two in. Although he did get injured one year. So it's like, and this is where, I went on about how, like, it was great last year where they were able to develop a guy like Walker Kessler because he was able to develop not necessarily on a great team, but it was a team that was kind of pushing toward the playoffs. They were looking really good. And, you mentioned, play Taylor Hendricks next to Lauri Markkanen. Because if that's the future, figure out if it works. Because what happens if we're a year or two down the line and we say, well, Lauri Markkanen and Taylor Hendricks can't play together?
Yeah.
I would have loved to find that out this year.
Like, it took a long time for the Jazz to figure out that Rudy Gobert and
Derek Favors
didn't really work together on the court at the same time.
Well, and they were doing that with Derek Favors and Enes Kanter, too. It's like they refused to play these guys together, and they refused to do Favors and Gobert. It's like, why don't we figure this out early? Like, figure things out. And basically, they're sacrificing potentially figuring out, can Hendricks, work alongside Collins and Markkanen? I would imagine he couldn't work alongside both of them at the same time, but maybe him and Markkanen. Can Markkanen and Kessler work together? Maybe, maybe not. They're skipping out on finding out if that can work so that they can have maybe the 8th or 9th pick in the draft. Like, that's what their reward is for skipping out on, like, real development as opposed to tanking development.
Right. The contrast there is the San Antonio Spurs. Yes, they are one of the worst teams in the NBA record-wise, but you can tell they're still trying to compete with a young core of players.
Yeah. I mean, they've just barely gotten their superstar, so this is the roster they have, but next year it's like, okay, don't tank for another top pick. Of course, they're going to get that this year anyway.
It's not Wembanyama with G League Select.
Yeah.
I mean, it's their young players. They're trying to understand and live the life of playing in the NBA.
Yeah, let's get Wembanyama and put him together with our players of the future. Several of the supposed players of the future aren't even on the court because, we can't play Markkanen because heaven forbid we win a game because we want that 8th pick in the draft. I don't know. I suddenly got upset after talking about backing away.
Like, I get it if you've got an injury, whatever, but it's going to be a long off season. It's not like the Jazz are going to be playing until June, right? They're going to be done. They're going to have plenty of time to rehab in the off season, but it would be nice to see these young players play alongside veterans and really get the feel of not just what it means to play against Kyrie Irving and against LeBron James and Anthony Davis and Kawhi Leonard, but how does it to play alongside veterans that are they're also wearing your same jersey?
Yeah.
Quality players that are still competing for the same goal and trying to win a game.
I mean, those jerseys are pretty ugly, so maybe they don't want to watch. Maybe they don't want to play.
Maybe they're just trying to get through it.
But yeah, and the key is, can you make tanking fun? The answer is usually not. But we saw last year a little bit where, hey, the team was kind of bad, but we enjoyed watching Lowry, Markkanen, and Kessler playing together and a lot of these guys. And it got bad and less fun at the end when they just said, oh, yeah, we're tanking now, and Markkanen's not going to play the entire back half of the year. Like, well, then it's not fun. And then nobody wants to go to your games, and nobody wants to support you, and nobody watches the rookies when they have these good games.
Oddly enough, though, the Jazz Arena, Delta Center, is still pretty full, despite all of this.
Yes.
So there's a strong, loyal fan base, but you can only pull the wool over their eyes for so long before they figure out.
Don't tick them off. Jazz fans are usually smart.
Yeah. 9315 texting in, if the Jazz really are tanking, then why they win so many games in the beginning of the season? How do you tell a team to lose when they all want to be winners?
Yeah, that's the thing. Is if they're tanking, why didn't they actually tank? Because they're basically tanking the second half of the last 2 seasons. That doesn't accomplish you anything except you miss the playoffs and get an okay draft pick. Maybe you hit on a star. I guess maybe they're drinking the Kool-Aid of the fact that most of the superstars they've ever drafted have all been in the 9 to 15 range. The John Stocktons, Karl Malones, Donovan Mitchells. I mean, Rudy Gobert way back at 27. I think there's a couple other guys that may be missing, but those guys do happen. Giannis, Devin Booker, those guys get drafted way back there, but you do realize that most of the championship teams in the last little while have at least somebody who was drafted really high? Higher than 9?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
So,
and I don't know that.
Yeah.
I don't believe that Will Hardy is telling his team to lose.
No,
but I think he is getting direction that, hey, we want to develop our young guys.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, losing games is a natural progression of that decision.
Yeah. Well, the way you lose is by making your team so bad that they're going to lose no matter how hard they're trying. Because, the players are trying to win. But when you say, okay, Lowry, you're injured, Clarkson, Collins, Kessler, you're all injured, you're out, well, then, yeah, your team's so bad they're not going to win a game. Maybe they will. Or, like, if you just gut your entire roster, like if you trade all your great players, well, then your roster is just so bad they're not going to win. Even though, yes, the coaches and players will be trying their hardest to win. But you got to be good. And these Jazz, especially with all the players out with injury, they're not good. They are a really bad team.
Walker Kessler, John Collins, Chris Dunn, Jordan Clarkson are all out. Colin Sexton is a game-time decision for the Jazz.
Yeah, it's just... It's hard to watch. It's hard to pay attention to. But that's the thing. This is tanking. If you want to get a top pick, and granted they're not going to get a top pick this year, but maybe they're going all in because Cooper Flagg is the prize of next year's draft. Maybe they're just prepping for that. Get the fan base used to losing so they can stick around for a 19-win season next
Start
year.
it sooner.
So maybe, but like this is what tanking is. It's hard to watch. It's hard to follow. It's hard to be excited over. But then draft day comes when we all get excited about the fancy new talent they get in.
2122 texting in. Jazz are so dysfunctional they can't even tank right. Should have started tanking 20 wins ago. And Jazz are like a Ponzi scheme. Fans continually invest time and money for diminishing returns that are always one more draft or investment away.
That's how it feels. They're always one more draft or one more free agent. Oh, trust me, get that next draft, or hey, look at all this cap flexibility we have. That is the Ponzi scheme. Whenever you hear these rumors about Jazz are trying to maintain cap flexibility, go pour coffee in their face.
Yeah, so I get that. You want to have flexibility to go get the players you want in free agency.
Because the Jazz are going to get players in free agency.
Well, you want to be able to have the cap flexibility to go get players you want in free agency and have the draft capital to move up in the draft to get the player you want in the draft, or to make trades to get a player somewhere else that's already established and to bring them over to you.
Yeah.
But here's the challenge. Right, what free agent wants to come and be a part of this?
So the thing
That's why I feel like you, as a team, I get, as I said earlier, I get the reasoning and the philosophy behind tanking. But what free agent, quality free agent, is going to look at Utah and say, I see you guys are building something there. I want to come be a part of that.
Want to come be part of the...
If I show up, can we make it 18 straight losses? 20 maybe?
I want to be
That's something special.
Guy comes. I want to be part of a historic Jazz team. Wait, not that historic. Wrong historic.
Let's not pull the Detroit Pistons here.
The Jazz aren't that bad. They are the Pistons. That was another level. If you think the Jazz are bad, my goodness, Piston fans. But they still get to look forward to Cade Cunningham. What do the Jazz have? A 9th pick in the draft. They refuse to play until 2/3 of the way through the year. But we'll see. Rebuilds are rocky. They're not fun.
And they take some time.
Yeah, and they take time. So as much as there's some frustrations building, and there are reasons for frustration, you got to maybe look on the bright side of life and just wait it out.
Like
watch some Keontae George highlight reels. That'll make you feel
there you
better.
go. But Danny Ainge and Justin Zanuck, they've clearly had a philosophy in place the last 2 seasons. All I will say is that I sure hope that it wasn't a 3-season philosophy and only a 2-season philosophy. That'll be really hard if the Jazz go out there, find some veterans, fringe veterans, play them a lot, build them up, increase their value, and then
trade them for second-round picks.
Trade them away. Like, I'm getting really tired. The buy low, sell high is generally a really good philosophy and should be followed.
That's great for stocks.
But at some point, you got to hold on to your stocks and let them grow and let them materialize. So I just hope that we're on the back end of this and that have the Jazz identified their generational future core. I don't know. Still a little too early to tell. Yeah. Keontae George shows signs of being a good NBA player. There's certain aspects of Taylor Hendricks' game that could develop into being a very exciting NBA player. Lauri Markkanen, we already know he is an all-star. Are there other players that can grow and develop around him? Kessler took a little bit of a step back this year, but he shows signs that he could improve. But is that it? Or do they still need to go get more?
Thing is that they need that, top-tier MVP candidate type player if they want to win an NBA championship. They will not win a title without that MVP caliber player.
Correct.
There is not a player like that on this roster.
No.
Nobody on the Jazz roster is going to win MVP. They do not have that potential unless it's hidden somewhere very deep. So they're going to have to get that, and they either get it by being incredibly lucky with a late lottery pick. That happens. Or they full-on tank next year and get a high pick in the draft, because that's where a lot of those MVP talent comes from, is, first 5 picks of the draft or so. Or maybe they decide to just pull what they have together, make a, playoff caliber team with guys like Markin, and maybe bring in some decent free agents and then trade for that kind of player. That's basically your 3 options. Most of them involve a lot of luck. I think we're going to see which basket the Jazz put their eggs in, because it feels like they're looking at they're getting as many assets as possible and collecting a bunch of mid to high tier role players and borderline stars. Like, that seems like they're building a team where you add that superstar piece through a trade. Because if they're trying to tank for a top pick in the draft, they're choosing a really weird method of doing that. And then you get lucky by drafting an MVP with the 10th or 9th overall pick. That's just the worst strategy you can go for.
Yeah,
so I really hope they're going one way or the other. And it doesn't feel like they're going in either direction. So that's where a lot of the frustration is. That's why people talk about this being a directionless team. It's like, where are you going? To the bottom? Or trying to, ramp yourself up to going to the top? Pick a lane, get in it, and then hit the gas.
Right. Yeah.
The fan base will follow you through a tank. You just have to, you can't say you're tanking, because that's how, what's his name in Philadelphia lost his job. But
oh, right.
But we can read between the lines. Just don't give mixed signals.
1623 texting in. Last July, I bet my dad $40 the Jazz make the playoffs. Looks like a foolish prediction now.
Yeah, and you're also $40 poor. Sorry, 1623.
All right, we've got to take a time out here in the Full Court Press. When we come back, speaking of the NBA, but connecting to the Utah State Aggies. A former Aggie in the pros just got another contract. We'll update you on that next on the Full Court Press.
It's that first kiss, that moment in time.
Engagement season is in full swing, and Jarek's Fine Jewelry has been helping hundreds of couples find the perfect ring. If you are getting engaged, you have to come browse our collections. Sometimes you may find the perfect ring in just a minute, or we can help you custom create your own design. Oh, and with Mother's Day almost here, talk to us about designing the perfect mother's ring.
Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Make it special, make it Jarek's.
Winter is the perfect time to let the Allergy Clinic help with venom testing for next spring and summer. Test now and begin treatments to help with life-threatening stings from honeybees, yellow jackets, white-faced hornets, yellow hornets, and wasps. The Allergy Clinic has helped thousands of people enjoy the outdoors worry-free. The Allergy Clinic in 2 locations, North Logan and Providence, accepts most insurance, including SelectMed. Call the Allergy Clinic at 753-7880. That's 753-7880.
Nearly 21 years ago, Cafe Sabor opened their doors in historic Logan train station. With the help of hundreds of amazing employees and patronage of thousands of wonderful customers, Cafe Sabor is proud to have been voted 3 years in a row Cache Valley's favorite Mexican restaurant in the Best of Northern Utah contest. Follow Cafe Sabor on social media for giveaways and promotions. Search Cafe Sabor for a restaurant near you. Thank you, Cache Valley, from your friends at Cafe Sabor.
Riley Crosby, President and Lead Wealth Advisor at Adams Wealth Advisors, has been recognized as a recipient of the prestigious 40 Under 40 Award from Utah Business Magazine. Riley is a standout in the financial planning industry, holding rigorous titles like Certified Financial Planner and Licensed Certified Public Accountant. With Riley, you're not just a client, you're family. Congratulations, Riley. Search Adams Wealth Advisors for more details. Awarded by Utah Business Magazine on 2/24 based on entries from September to November 23. No compensation to Utah Business Magazine was given for entry or the use of the 40 Under 40 Award.
Did you know one of the Intermountain West's top dog trainers lives right here in Cache Valley? His name is Brian, and his business is called Arate. He's trained police, military, emotional support dogs, and more. And now he's training family dogs right here in Cache Valley.
Hi, I'm Brian, and I love working with dogs. Any breed, any behavior. Does your dog bark? Are they aggressive towards strangers? Do they just not listen? No matter what you try, I can change your dog's behavior. It's guaranteed to work and guaranteed to last.
Call 435-535-1169 or visit arete.dog. That's ARETE.dog or Google Arete Dog Training. Remember, big, mean, or small, we train them all.
Northern Utah and Southern Idaho's home for sports. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker. We were talking about the NBA. A player in the NBA with Utah State ties just got a new contract. It's Neemias Queta with the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, he's been on a two-way contract for most of his career. He signed I don't know if it was like a camp deal or a full-time contract with the Kings, but they signed him to because the first 2 years he's on a two-way deal with the Kings. They drafted him, signed him to a two-way deal, signed him to another two-way deal a year after that. Then before the season, signed him to, I thought it was a standard contract, and then they cut him a month later. Yeah, it was August 8th, they cut him September 12th. Then 5 days after that, Celtics signed him. But he was on a two-year deal again, which I don't think Queta's actually eligible to be on two-way deals anymore. After this year.
He's used up all of his availability.
Yeah, there's some criteria, I think it has to do with age or number of years in the league. But yeah, the Celtics, though, they're signing him to a standard contract. Basically, I think it's the rest of this year, including the playoffs. And then they have a team option for him next year. So similar in some ways to what Sam Merrill signed, where it's non-guaranteed. It'll say multi-year contract, but it's non-guaranteed. It's nothing off the Celtics if they decide not to sign him. But it shows a vote of confidence to say, hey, look, we have a roster spot. We want to sign you. Queta has, in a couple of different stretches, been kind of an injury fill-in, where normally he's on the bench, inactive, or sometimes with the G League team. I think he played 11 G League games this year with the Maine Celtics. But there were a couple of stretches where there's minor temporary injuries to their main guys Porzingis, Al Horford, even Luke Cornett. And he would play 15 minutes a game. There was a stretch in, I think, the last half of December and then late January to early February where he was playing 15 minutes a game for a 5 or 6 game stretch. And he put up some good numbers. He had his first 2 career double-doubles. On that December stretch, we had a game where he had 10 points, 10 rebounds, and a game where he had 14 points, 12 rebounds. So hopefully he's getting his shot in kind of the same way that Sam Merrill did, where Sam Merrill got his chance. It came because of injuries, but he's proven he's an NBA rotation guy. I've been screaming about how somebody needs to give Neemias Queta a chance, please. This is a guy who has the athleticism, the length, the size,
he's got a great NBA body.
Yeah,
and skill set.
And even the brains have been playing. He has good defensive instincts. Why is this man not playing more NBA minutes? But it seems like nobody will give him that shot. The Celtics may be giving him that shot. We'll have to wait and see if they actually keep him on for next year. But it's really good to be seeing. It's really good to see Neemias Queta getting this chance with the Celtics.
Yeah, and in Sam Merrill, he's with the Cavaliers. They're currently in the 5th position with the legitimate chance to move up to the 3rd position. They're only half a game, really a game and a half, actually, being ahead of Milwaukee. So Cleveland still has a legitimate chance of, even though they've kind of struggled as of late here, but they still have a chance in these last few games of moving up and being even into the second position in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, Cleveland's gunning. They're in win-now mode, especially because Donovan Mitchell is doing his late Utah tenure routine where he's not committing to staying around, and he's getting asked all those questions like, oh, man.
Yes, there is some uncertainty in Cleveland, yes.
So the same thing, Cleveland's facing the same thing Utah faced, but they're in win-now mode, and we'll see how it goes. They have some iffy parts about their roster, but they obviously have some incredibly talented players. Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley is emerging as an incredibly unique player. So kind of rooting for Cleveland, especially because of Sam Merrill. Really want to see him get his second ring.
Yes, but either way, looks like both of these former Aggies are going to the playoffs.
Yeah, and the Celtics are the front runners, so Neemias Queta may earn himself a ring.
That's true.
Get two former Aggies have a ring.
And you can compare.
There you go, compare them.
All right, got to take another time out here in the Full Court Press. When we come back, we'll just going to update you on our high school spring sports broadcast schedule. We've got a couple games going on tonight. We'll tell you who's playing where and how you can follow along.
Do you have a backup generator, or have you explored the options of adding one to your home? Generac backup generators will keep your home or business safe and cool during the summer months if the power goes out. Do you already have a system? Golden Spike Electric can service it for you. If you don't have one, Golden Spike Electric can find the right model for your needs. Find them online at gsegenerators.com or call 435-257-3016. Golden Spike Electric and Generac, power you can count on.
Experience Barrel and Stave on Federal Avenue, where good food, good drinks, and good people meet, using local ingredients to create the most delicious taste possible. Barrel and Stave is a cozy cocktail bar offering a large selection of wines, whiskeys, and cocktails, along with an amazing selection of bar bites and weekly chef specials guaranteed to tantalize your taste buds. With live music every Wednesday night and Thirsty Thursdays that offer $2 off drafts, come and see what you've been missing. Barrel and Stave, Tuesday through Saturday evenings on Federal Avenue.
Finding effective and affordable insurance solutions can be stressful. This is Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance. As a kid growing up, my father, Gordon, took care of my insurance, and I knew I never needed to worry. I was covered. I've continued to provide that same service for my clients at Quality First. My team of experienced agents work hard to ensure every customer gets the help they need. Let's sit down and take the stress out of your insurance. Call us today, 435-752-0101.
JM Mechanical knows spring is sure to make its appearance someday, and when it does, how soon we'll forget the snow, ice, and 0-degree temperatures. 90-plus degree days will take over. JM Mechanical knows how to deal with the extreme temperatures of northern Utah. They know how to replace every type of heating or air conditioning brand. Fast 24-hour service is available in Box Elder, Cache, and Franklin counties with a 100% satisfaction guarantee and upfront pricing. Call JM Mechanical at 563-6267. That's 563-6267.
The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Last couple of minutes with you here. And back to the Full Court Press text line, 6294, saying Jazz should have tanked last year. Tony Jones says they couldn't do that with Mike Conley on the team. I understand the sentiment, but they totally should have tried to get Wemby. Got to be really good or really bad. The middle is a dry desert.
Yeah, it's really bad. Yeah, the reason the Jazz couldn't tank last year, they tried at the end, but that's because they traded their guys at the All-Star break. You don't tank halfway through the year.
Right, you have to be committed to it.
Yeah, with the roster they had, they would have had to trade them way early on. And if they weren't willing to do that, they couldn't tank. Because you can't tell your players to lose because they're not going to do that. And you can't bench them for the entire year with a faux injury. You can bench them for a while with those kind of exaggerate the severity of an injury, but
it affects their value and what you could get in return as well. So yeah, I understand. If you're going to tank, you got to be committed to it early.
Yeah, pick a lane and go. Jazz don't seem to be doing that right now.
No. Last few minutes here, just a reminder. Covering high school spring sports, video streaming on CashValleyDaily.com. We have 2 games going on this afternoon. Got a doubleheader going on simultaneously, also being broadcast on local radio. So Green Canyon versus Ridgeline in boys volleyball. That's also going to be heard on 107.7 FM. Stockton Jukes and Crystal Howe on the call. And then Ridgeline versus Skyview in softball. And that'll be on 104.5 The Ranch with Dave Simmons and Nick Zollinger on the call.
Yeah, we've got some pretty good games this week and some good high school matchups. I know Ridgeline Bear River baseball is going to be going on this week, but so we'll have those later. But yeah,
covering baseball, softball, volleyball.
Pretty much every sport this week. I think girls lacrosse isn't going to get one this week, but there's only so many days in the week.
Right. So you can find the details. You can watch the games on Cache Valley Daily. You can go back and watch the replays. Games tonight, they both start at 6, so they should be in their pre-games right now. Look for multiple games taking place throughout the week for high school sports.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Looking forward to might go home and watch the volleyball one. I'm really curious about boys volleyball. Like, want to see what that sport's like for them. Obviously, got to watch a lot of girls volleyball over the years, but not so much boys volleyball.
Yeah, it's its first year as a sanctioned sport, so should be a lot of fun. Go check those out, and you can see it live on Cache Valley Daily or tune in on the radio for volleyball is going to be on 107.7 and softball tonight on 104.5 The Ranch, our sister stations. That's going to do it for us tonight here in the Full Court Press. Thanks for tuning in. A reminder, a podcast of today's show will be uploaded shortly after we get off the air. Last hour is already available. You can go back onto our podcast feed, find the post-scrimmage audio from Blake Anderson, Spencer Petras, and Bronson Oliveo as well to hear what they have to say about Utah State spring football practices underway. And until then, we'll be back here at it again tomorrow.